So, welcome everyone to what I think is our second chamber chat. And this is a COVID response program that we've put together over the last couple of weeks to have a conversation with elected leaders as well as business leaders in the community. And we're going to try and focus these so they're not a long style format and very topical. So a couple of say ground rules for the event is we're all trying to adjust to a very digital forward environment. I know that there's some folks in the room that may not know me, that may have seen this on Facebook or on our website. My name is Guy Chigrasso. I'm president and CEO of the Bellingham Regional Chamber of Commerce. As I said, Chamber Chat's a program of the Chamber, clearly, as the name would indicate. And one of the aspects of this is we want to have the opportunity for members and community members to engage with the local leaders, but in a way to keep it short format. We're asking everyone to just ask questions at the end. So everybody's mic is muted with the exception of the speakers. And just we'll go through the three speakers for the day. And as I mentioned, if you have a question, enter it in the chat and we'll follow that up after all the three speakers. Again, just a reminder, please mute your microphone. These are recorded, and so the recording is based upon the speaker view. So whoever's audio is on and giving the presentation or the dialogue, that's the one that will record. At least I hope so. That's how I hope it's going to work. In addition, we want to kind of promote some of the other upcoming chamber chats. I think we just solidified the date for Governor Inslee's local rep. Will be on next week, and we're working to get the county exec as well as the Peace Health CEO for future chamber chats. So keep checking the website and the Monday emails, and of course the Business Buzz email that comes out. We would be amiss if we didn't mention some of our other programming that we've got going on continuously, and then again in a virtual format right now. Networking breakfasts are continuing, again, and very similar to this style as Zoom meeting. We had our first one that was super successful last month with about 70 participants, and it looks like we'll get pretty close to that mark this month. So it's this Friday. There's still time to register. And one of the other programs that we started over the last couple of years with the Chamber is something called our On Topic. And this is a peer-to-peer education series. Tends to feel a little more like a webinar versus a conversation, which is what this is intended to be. And we're continuing those. Check the website. Since we're in this new, again, virtual world, we've got Northwest Technology, and again, for those of you that may have some interest in learning Microsoft Teams, we've got, I think that program is next Wednesday. And again, in honor of the longtime favorite Business After Business happy hour, if you will, we now have a handshake less happy hour. Again, still the third Thursday of every month. The times have changed, so it's like 4 to 5:30 now. But again, we just want to remind everyone about all the programming opportunities of the Chamber. And so we are at 10:39, and I like to timestamp these. And so it is May 6th. I think it's Wednesday. They're all Mondays right now. And so I'm just so happy that we were able to schedule and convince somehow three, what I would say, real estate industry leaders for this morning. And so Mary Kay Robinson, Troy Moliot, and Lena Kirschman are joining us on the chamber chat and in conversation this morning. And we're going to start with Mary Kay to go over residential, and then Troy for commercial, multifamily, and then Lena to kind of round out from a lending perspective as the CARES Act did provide some some other alternatives to traditional lending. So again, I'm asking everyone that's not a speaker to please keep your microphone muted. And if you have a question, write it in the chat box and we'll catch up. So without further ado, I'm going to mute myself for the time being. And Mary Kay, are you?
I'm ready. I just picked off some of the printer, so I'm ready to go.
Awesome. The floor is yours. Thank you so much. So
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about how the market is right now.
Interesting. So contrary to what many people may think, residential real estate is still happening. People are still buying and selling. Real estate can conduct business, but as much as possible has to be done electronically, of course. Very strict protocols as to any in-person interactions. Only 2 people can be in the house at one point, including the realtors. You can only show 1 person at a time. Very strict showings, no open houses, but we're still able to do business. But that being said, I looked at some stats over on, I think everybody's wondering, what about home values? What's going on? So and I got this information from the Northwest MLS, a multiple listing service. And interesting enough, in the month of April, if you look year over year, April to April, the median, that means half the home prices are less, half the home prices are more. For April 2019, the median home price was $355. The median home price in April 2020 is $368.5. That's an increase year over year of about 3.8%. So we're still going up. Prior to that, we had about 11%. 18 to 19 was about 11% increase in median price. Now it's 3.8. So the pace of home appreciation has slowed a little bit, but I think everybody realizes that also we couldn't continue on that pace, that double-digit appreciation. It was going to slow anyway. What I found really interesting, though, is if you look at the overall market, as far as homes pending, sales, listings, that kind of thing. The listings month over month these statistics are only through March. So March, I'll look at March over March. So for March 2020, there were 234 residential listings. We're not talking about commercial or vacant lands, but these are residential. 234, and in March 19, 270. So there's less listings. We have less inventory overall. The pendings as far as March are 162 versus in March 208. So everything is kind of shifted down a little bit. Still lots of activity going on as far as months of inventory for right now in 2020. Of all properties, all residential properties, there is, that ranked stack, that is the under 500. So under 500, the market has shifted. It's everything's come down as far as price and, or the number of inventory and as far as the market, is it a seller or a buyer's market? The March 2020, under 500,000, we have about a 1.7 months of inventory versus a year ago, about the same, but we've kind of come down a little bit as far as the number of listings, et cetera. So everything is kind of shifted down a little bit. But if you look at kind of overall, over 500, which I thought this was interesting. And this is maybe can lead into, Lena can maybe answer some of those questions. So March 2020, over 500,000. So a good chunk of our residential homes are under 500,000. Over 500,000 now. We had 239 listings for March. In April, we had 209. So listings have gone up in the over 500 range. The pendings are about the same though, 64, 65. They're about the same. So we have more inventory in the upper end of the market. From a month's standpoint, like how many months would it take for all homes to sell if nothing else came on the market? That's about the same, about 3.5 versus 4.5 months. So we have more, it takes longer to sell a higher priced home based on these numbers than a lower priced home. And just anecdotally, anything, those homes under 500,000, there's still multiple offers going on. People are, they're still bidding up some homes, where it's hard to say what the relationship is with the market and what's going on in above 500,000. Is that a function of some changes in the jumbo loan market? That's something, Lena, you can address certainly. I don't know. I'd have to do some more research into that, but I think it's interesting to see there's a little bit of a split in the market, that we still have a very active under 500,000, maybe a little bit of a softening in the over 500,000. Factors that go into that, I'm not sure. Could be, people are just want to have a wait and see attitude. But overall, the market is still very active. People are, they're wanting to buy homes, and rates are still so great. This is just an awesome opportunity to make that long-term investment. And Lena will get into that later for sure. But real estate is still happening. People still need housing, and, realtors want to provide that housing.
Mary Kay, so we had a quick clarifying question, which is the only reason I'm taking a question right now.
Sure.
The stats, were they for Bellingham or Whatcom County as a whole?
Good question. Whatcom County. Whatcom County. Yeah.
So what's your thought kind of coming out of this? I mean, we all hope that the governor's phasing plans are starting to open up and we can hit as an accelerated phase opening as possible. So what do you feel kind of future forecasting from a residential market?
Great question. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts by economists, Windermere's economist, Matthew Gardner, and I agree with his assessment, is that we're in a health crisis, not a housing crisis, and that he doesn't foresee, and I agree with his assessment, that home prices, even in many recessions, other than the Great Recession, which was a banking driven recession, that home prices have held steady or continue to increase. So I think from a value standpoint, I think we still have a strong market. We still have a strong in-migration. We still have people want to live here. We still have low inventory. So that will keep prices stable, if not appreciating, albeit at a lesser pace than we've seen in the past. But I still think this is still a really good market, and the purchasing power, gosh darn, the purchasing power of those interest rates right now, and Lena, you're going to get into the specifics there, is huge as to, what kind of life you want to have. I mean, I look at that interest rate, and this is what I tell my clients, I look at that interest rate as that's also an asset, because it's your cost of your lifestyle, and that's an investment too, getting that awesome rate so that you can have this other appreciating asset. I mean, they go hand in hand and just are a fantastic combination.
Awesome. Well, we're going to kick it over to Troy Moyat. So thank you so much for joining us, Troy. Make sure that we can hear you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning.
Yeah. Real estate is unique. I think Mary Kay put it well. There's definitely some uniqueness to the market, and I think Mary Kay's stats are exactly what I'm seeing on that residential market. I believe her stats were all residential, including condos and everything. So if you look at just residential homes, that median price is a little bit higher. And again, depending on the market you're looking at, Whatcom County or a sub-market of just Bellingham, sales in general are down, in the 25 to 30% range, month over month, year over year. So that is affecting the commercial market as well. And you've got multiple segments of the commercial market, 4 main quadrants or asset types. You've got retail, office, industrial, and multifamily. And clearly all 4 asset types are being affected by the current crisis. That is an understatement. Probably the stat that I have comes from my management company. I own Landmark Property Management, so we're collecting rents. So we're right in the middle of a unique time. It's an understatement, collecting rents from tenants that don't always want to pay or can't pay. And so, yeah, rent collection on the multifamily side through yesterday, May's rents, about 90% of Whatcom County's tenants had paid, and that is above the state average and the national average. Still down 6% from maybe where we are typically at this time through, say, the 5th of the month. Commercial rents are a different story. About 55% of the commercial rents have paid. That's down about 20% over typical time periods through the 5th. And so that's kind of an interesting gauge for us. We have, anywhere from 10 to 15% of residential tenants asking for some type of rent relief in some way, shape, or form. And commercially, that number is in the 20 to 25% range, depending on the asset type. And that's affecting commercial real estate and our local economy, as many know. So that's the short story. I can get into a lot of different stats and stuff, guys. So I don't know where you want to go.
Well, I would say, are there certain stats that you find interesting, or certain things that, and again, if I'm looking at it, just similar to the question that I asked Mary Kay, is this is a health pandemic that caused an economic crisis. So in theory, there's nothing inherently wrong or broken with the market. We just have to get out of the health pandemic, or the health crisis, if we want to use that word interchangeably, to kind of go into what's next. And that's kind of where I would say my interests are, but I would trust your judgment. I mean, you're looking at these numbers all the time. Are there certain things that are piquing your interest or giving you concern?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it depends by that market segment. Obviously, retailers that are completely shut down, relying on people coming and going, don't have drive-through or delivery capabilities, are impacted the most. And our thoughts and prayers go out to those businesses. That said, real estate in general has come from a healthy place. And Mary Kay did point this out before. When you look at the Great Recession, you look at the total amount of inventory, the amount of construction that was occurring, both single family, multifamily, commercially, retail, office, industrial, all were at different levels. And so we come from a healthier standpoint. Granted, we are still not immune from any type of recession, but real estate does come from, I would say, a solid inventory level, and we are in a pause. There is some general, I would say, qualitative data that's showing that there is some pent-up demand in different segments. We still have people looking at leasing properties, although commercial real estate today is deemed non-essential. That said, for people purchasing investment properties, obviously interest rates, we do look at the 10-year treasury as our gauge, and I see several bankers on the call, and clearly, that rate ranging between 0.5% and 0.75% is just a historic all-time low. So that rate is a benchmark for most commercial real estate, and we're starting to see bankers really put in some floors because we just haven't seen rates go this low before. So it isn't a phenomenal time. We're seeing multifamily 10-year rates below 3% now, and that is for larger money, depending on debt coverage ratio, a variety of different things. Really a really interesting time. And so the spread, we always look at the spread between where interest rates are and then a cap rate. A cap rate is essentially your rate of return if you paid cash for a property, an annual return. And that spread is really wider than it's ever been in probably 20 years. And so that's providing opportunity, but it's also gauges the level of risk that an investor wants to take in the market. And so there's a lot of unknowns. Are the tenants going to pay? Is Western Washington University going to open up in the fall? Or is the 50% plus or minus rental population in Bellingham going to disappear? Clearly, tenants are going to continue to rent, and the rental market is I would say solid for Whatcom County and Bellingham, but a lot of unknowns and a lot of future potential black swan events that could occur.
Okay. Well, thank you. Next up, we're going to go Lena Kirchman, Caliber Home Loans.
There we go. I had myself on mute. I apologize. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our meeting here today. It's great to see some of your faces. This has really created some interesting situations with lending that COVID has. And we talked about it being a health crisis, and there is inventory and there are people still buying homes, don't get me wrong. But the ability for us to do the loans has changed a lot. It used to be where we would do a verification of employment for someone about 10 days out. And now we have to do it within 3 days of closing. If someone is a hourly pay period person, we have to have the most current pay stub all the way through the loan process. We have to make sure that at the end, nothing has changed from the beginning, because a lot of people are being furloughed or their income is being affected in Whatcom County. I've even had people through the middle of the loan process that have all of a sudden don't have a job. So we either put things on hold or we try to restructure things so that we can still close a purchase. That has been the biggest situation. The other situation that we're seeing in lending is that some of the loans that we currently had have been suspended for certain reasons. Caliber has a retail side and a wholesale side, and our wholesale side they just suspended it. And the reason they did that was to be able to create a strong position for our retail side to come through this strong and be there at the end. We are busier than we ever been. We're breaking all of our records. There's people buying houses left and right. We're working with the realtors in the county just to be really, really communicating and make sure. And I know my other lenders on the call are doing the same thing. But with programs being suspended, we have to be careful too. I know lenders that are not doing any cash out. I know lenders that are not doing any government loans. I know lenders that have suspended jumbos. So when your programs are suspended, you've got to really be, every single day we see an update, something changes. We do a daily team meeting. I know everybody probably on this call is trying to stay really in touch with their people in their office to make sure, as things change or as things update, we know what's going on. We had a company that we were doing home equity lines of credit through, and all of a sudden, with no notice, they just shut down. No more, suspended completely. So it's just things like that this is affecting. For those people that still have jobs and are still be able to qualify, great. Interest rates are so low. Troy talked about the 10-year. That's how we kind of gauge ours as well. And when you see that interest rate between 1/2 and 3/4, you're just doing a happy dance because rates are low. And so we're just really fortunate that the realtors are able to go in the homes, that the appraisers are able to go in the homes. We've had some that are a little like, all the doors have to be open and all the lights have to be on and all, it's got to be a little different when an appraiser goes in for some of them. Or people go in completely masked up and, gloves and the whole bit. But those are little things. The bigger things are just people staying employed.
Can you talk a little bit about forbearance deferment?
Yes.
Because again, that's in a lot of the conversations beyond, I would say, real estate focus. That's one of the pieces that I keep hearing.
Right. So forbearance is an option available for people who aren't able to make their home loans. The thing that I want to really emphasize is every lender is going to be a little bit different on what they're providing. Some people say, oh, they're going to tack it on the end, or, oh, they're going to do this, or they're going to do that. The basic rule for forbearance is that, I'm just going to use an example. Say you call your lender and you say, I want to do a 3-month forbearance. So you take a forbearance for May, June, and July. Okay. So May, June, and July, you don't make a house payment. But then in August, your payment's due. And so is May, June, and July. So it's kind of like, I explain it to people, it's kind of like buying furniture, same as cash. you don't make a payment, but then at the end it's all due. So it's the same thing with a home loan. That's the typical. Now, because we're in this health crisis, I know that the big Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they're trying to make some changes so that there are other options available, so that they could do a loan modification at the end of their forbearance. So instead of owing 4 months worth of payments, then they could do a modification where they kind of refinance their loan for them. That's an easier way to explain it. Or they do a payment plan. Some of them are offering a payment plan where you can do a payment plan through your thing. Some of it depends on the type of mortgage you have, and some of it depends on your lender. So just be careful. I'm happy to answer questions regardless of who your lender is. You can always call me, but just to make sure that you really understand what you're signing, what you're getting into, what you're doing. I have a good real estate attorney that I refer people to look at contracts if it's something you're unsure of. But the big thing is the basic forbearance is that where you owe it when the forbearance is over. But again, I don't know how many of the people remember the recession of 2007, 2008. But after that, there became programs available called a Home Affordable Refinance Program, the HARP. They had a HARP 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, or point, anyhow. And we were joking in our daily team meeting the other day that we're going to see more HARP. It was a joke, but I think it's probably true, where there'll be some programs available. If you have this type of loan, you can refinance with no income, no assets at the end. But when people are in forbearance, it'll show on the credit reports now. And so lenders don't refinance a property in forbearance. So there'll have to be some special programs if that's going to happen, but that's
So
to
to
be
round it
seen.
out, it just depends.
It really does. I just tell people to be cautious, because there was a lot of rumor going around at the beginning that they would just tack it on the end. And we saw a lot of people, even customers of mine, said, I got this paperwork. I started forbearance. I understand. And I'm like, whoa, that's not how this works. So we just want, sorry about that. We just want people to be aware of, what their situation is. It's different for every lender. It's different for every loan type.
Okay. So we are now to the question portion. So we've got a couple of questions, and a couple of people are sending them privately to me, so you can do that, or you can send them to the full chat, doesn't matter. First one I think is probably more for Troy, because it's regarding, I would say, commercial real estate and you touched on it a little bit. When you think restaurant retails, how they're as an industry are going to have to pivot going forward, but also from general office space as we're kind of moving more towards virtual. Do you think this virtual environment will change the needs and expectations of, again, general commercial use?
Yeah. Do all of you want to stay home, or do you want to get out of your houses? That's the question. So really, there's a survey needed for you, but I think everybody wants out of their house. So yeah, we've had discussions, and I've watched a variety of regional and national webinars from CoStar, who's really the industry standard, and what is the shift in office that we're going to see nationwide, locally, regionally. I think it has yet to be determined. I think that people are anticipating a larger impact on the office market than actually is going to exist. Okay. There will be some impact. You've got the Regises of the world, the WeWorks of the world, the executive office people of the world. And yeah, that market could, I would think, see the strongest impact from a negative standpoint. But at the same time, I do foresee a lot of office users still holding their offices, keeping those spaces. probably shifting how they do things and allowing for telecommuting. We've got a variety of different employees at different companies I'm involved with, where we've been able to sometimes adapt well, sometimes not so well, to home office work. And you've still got people that want to come in. So there is demand still there. It's the larger offices in larger cities that are going to have unique challenges, like massing at an elevator. What does that look like? A variety of different unique situations that we maybe don't see in a more rural market. So just some general thoughts there. Retail, restaurants, huge impact. I mean, huge impact for those that have struggled to pivot, haven't pivoted, or having a difficulty time. You know, they're seeking rent relief from their landlords, and a lot of landlords are providing relief. I mean, again, the governor has an order. It's a non-eviction order right now that goes through June 4th. We fully intend that that order will be extended, most likely in some way, shape, or form through the end of the year. The governor will tell us what that looks like. Your rent cannot be raised. You cannot be charged a late fee. There is essentially no consequence if you do not pay your rent. That aside, bankers are cringing when I say that, because they want their mortgage holders to pay their commercial real estate mortgages, and so bankers are working with those owners and providing interest only, some forbearance, a combination. They're working together, and so that hopefully helps us put the pause button on. And then we'll look and see where we're at in the fall. But for the restaurant owner that has been shut down and is near retirement, you know, will they open? It's a great question. I don't know. You probably have a better judge of that. The one fact that I see that's a hard fact to swallow is CoStar is predicting in 2021 a 13% default rate on CMBS mortgages. Now that's what we call the big boy money, so to speak. That's dollars that are extended, usually loans that are in the above $3 million range, large commercial deals. And they're predicting a pretty substantial default rate.
Okay. Next question. I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit, and it's probably more, so we'll go back to Mary Kay, because you mentioned it a little bit earlier, is if you were, let's say, suggesting to the governor or health department officials some ideas to slowly and safely open up, what were some of the ideas that you would present and suggest? And I think, Troy, you could probably answer this, as could Lena. So we'll kind of go in the same order. Mary Kay, Troy, Lena, if you have anything.
Well, one of the things that we're already doing, there's an addendum that we can, before showing a home, for instance, that the potential buyer viewing any home fills out, no, I've not been sick. You know, they basically, it's a disclosure that, yeah, I'm okay to go see this home. So it gives some confidence to the seller that, you know, their home is safe. Because, you know, as a seller, if you're still in the house, I mean, that's a little bit, you know, could be a little unnerving to have people coming and going. And so requiring that any prospective buyer be pre-approved. This isn't just, you know, let's see how the house is decorated. You know, you got to be a for real, serious, this is what you need to do. So certainly, you know, those kinds of pre-qualifications in conducting business are things that we can do. And, you know, we provide, you know, just for showing homes and being inside homes, gloves, like Lena was saying before, you know, gloves, masks. I carry, I have a box of disinfectant in a closet, and so I'm wiping down everything and have a mask, and we do those kinds of things, and people seem to appreciate that as well. So I think continuing those kinds of practices, practicing social distancing, you know, you stand, I mean, it's so common to the handshake, like you said before, you know, like we're at the chamber breakfast, there's no handshaking, you know, no hugging, just kind of, we do this from a greeting standpoint. So I think continuing those practices, we're not having open houses. In fact, it's inspiring real estate professionals In fact, I have to do one this week myself to do video tours of homes so people can look at that first before deciding, do I want to go out and see it? I mean, there's some things with technology that we can take advantage of that keep people safe, but keep business moving forward at the same time.
Troy, anything to add?
Yeah, I think, we've created a variety, the MLS locally has created some addendums, a variety of things, and then we've undone those. We just have to use common sense and obviously be respectful to people that are highly sensitive, obviously a compromised immune system, whatever it may be. We have to provide safety, people first. Period. End of story. So what does that look like? It's going to depend on the business. It's going to depend on the situation and such. I can't really talk about maybe necessarily what we should do. I can just say what we're planning on doing. We have 30 employees at our management company. We're bringing people back in phases. Extra cleanliness at the office on a daily basis. We are providing a variety of opportunities for people to work in the office and then also work at home. When we show apartments, when we show things, yes, the Northwest MLS has provided a variety of very good rules, efficient rules that are in line with the governor's orders, is to no more than 2 people and using social distancing in that effect. That said, there's just a variety of situations that we could probably take a day and a half to go through, and unique situations. But common sense, safety first, people first, is really the filter that we have to run everything through.
Got it. Lena, anything to add?
I just wanted to touch on what Mary Kay had said about the pre-approval letters. We are seeing that. I just got a text while we were sitting here that somebody needs a pre-approval letter just to view a home, and we're seeing that's common now. Moving forward, I agree with what Troy said, just respectful of those that are, sensitive about the situation. Some people feel that, we have to, stay in our house, not go anywhere and do anything. And other people are like, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So I agree with what Troy said. It's going to depend on the business. It's going to depend on everything. At Caliber, we've all been working remotely since 16th of March. So this is week 8. A lot of us are ready. Me, I'm ready to go back to the office and sit at my desk and, have all my stuff. Not that I don't have it all at home, but, just to get back into a little bit more normalcy. So we sent out a survey for our company because we've got about 45 people in our Bellingham office now to kind of see where we are, who's comfortable with what. Some people want to continue working from home and others want to continue to move forward and get back into the office. And I think we're going to see that in all businesses, and I think the phasing going in at 25% and then up to 50%, I think that's the right way to do it. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, so we've got actually 2 questions here that I'm actually going to combine on. So first part is, what is the mood of buyers and sellers these days? Do you have any sellers or buyers who decided to hold off and to wait to see how this pandemic plays out? And I think it's a little different of a question, but I think close enough that we might have some good dialogue or some good input. For someone sitting on cash, what is a good plan for investing right now? Better to sit on the sidelines for a while or not? So I'll let whoever wants to take that one first. Mary Kay?
Yeah. So what's the mood of buyers and sellers? Buyers who have the wherewithal to purchase, like Lena said, are buying. And we see multiple offers. People, they're moving forward, and because the interest rates are such an incentive, and they're still committed to buying. That being said, though, I have a couple of instances of clients of mine, buyers, who would be raring to go and would buy, but they were laid off. They just can't. I have another seller who is concerned because the price point of their home would entail the jumbo loan market if someone didn't pay cash. And so does that, in my understanding, and Lena, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the jumbo loan market, in addition to some lenders exiting that field, is that the interest rates on some of those jumbo loans that are being offered are higher than they've been in the past. So that raises the cost of that, of purchasing that asset. So does that put a damper on some of those higher end homes and sellers thinking, you know, maybe I should just hold back to before I list my home? So I think there's a little bit of, I'm going to wait and see. But again, and Troy mentioned this earlier too, there's still pent up demand. We still have a low inventory overall. And once things start to open up and we start to do things, albeit gradually, and with safety precautions and everything we've already discussed, I think there's going to be some pent up demand. And the forecast, I believe, for rates of the economists that I've heard about, I mean, they're looking at low rates for the rest of the year. I mean,
Right.
it's going to be down.
Yeah.
And that in and itself is an incentive for people who may be hesitant, like, is this okay? Is this a good time? That's great. And think about it from a seller standpoint. If I want to sell my house and I want to buy something else, once I feel like, yeah, I think it's okay to do this now, they can lock in a rate that is, I mean, just screaming low. I mean, we've just never seen rates this low before. They can lock in that rate on that asset and sell their home so they can more afford the transition. Granted, there still has the employment picture still has to be there, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for that, for folks to do that, albeit that some buyers are forced to wait because of the employment situation, and some sellers are hanging back just a little bit. But again, there's still that pent up demand that once things start to open up, things are going to move forward.
Can I just add to that real quick, Guy?
Yeah.
Mary Kay, you talked about the jumbo loans, and there are a lot of loans, like I had talked about, that are suspended right now. And I see some of my other lender friends, Andy Powell's on this call, and I see Brandy Brawley on this call. You guys may have different situations, but I know that at Caliber, our jumbo loans have been suspended. And so we don't have the ability at this moment to do those loans. And we refer them to other lenders that do. You know, it's like a great big love fest in the lending community where if we can't do something, we find someone else, and they do vice versa. But it's interesting that we get creative and say, okay, well, conforming loan limit in Whatcom County is 510 400. That's a big loan. And so most of our jumbo loans that we're seeing, we can do a HELOC on the backside and do the old 80 10 10s that we used to do, or whatever. We can utilize that program. But so that's how we are kind of sufficing through it or referring it on to somebody else. But just with the suspension of loans, that's a big deal with everybody, not just Caliber, but with everybody.
Troy, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, as to where the market really is, we are tracking new listings, pending listings, and then, what is actually sold on a weekly basis. And so, and I'm looking at those stats right now. I mean, I could even share them if you'd like, but basically we're down 30 to 40% on new inventory. And so, as Mary knows, because I don't sell houses, but Mary sure does, I just look at the data and the stats, and the spring sale time is really where you see 40 to even 50% of home sales occur in about a 3 to 4 month period of time. And we are now at the, we're into that time period, and we're just down on the amount of sales or the amount of listings that we would normally see. So people are paused, they're waiting to see, and they're not taking action. And then with that, sale activity is down. So inventory level is down. There's 126 homes, not counting mobile homes or condos, in Bellingham today. The median price is $617. The average price is $875 in Bellingham. I mean, out of control still, no inventory. That number is still almost 4 times lower than where we were in 2007 going into the Great Recession. Just to give you some idea, in Bellingham or in Whatcom County, 485 homes on the market, a median price of $499, average price is $654. I mean, there's nothing affordable on the market today. And so for those that look, those cash buyers out there, that want to buy something from an investment standpoint, obviously you just have to gauge your level of risk. You have to understand the rental market. If it's a commercial property, a retail property, industrial property, what does that tenant look like? How are those tenants going to survive? Are rents going to change? And that is yet to be unknown. But we're still seeing demand on the rental side, the residential rental side. Pre-leasing for the fall is actually up 6% over where it was last year. So demand is still strong for residential rentals. And that is a different problem that we've had that's been building over the last 10 years. So additional supply to the rental market, residential rental market, is frankly welcomed because a vacancy rate of 1 to 2%, anything below 5 is still out of whack historically.
Okay. Troy, this is probably a question for you as well. Is there a fear of liability for business to feel there could be a transfer of virus? So is that fear of liability to the business part of some of the dialogue that you're seeing?
From the tenant standpoint, the business owner, or?
I would assume, yeah, like the operator of, let's say, a restaurant or retail, and someone comes in with it and then it's spread, how much liability could be on that business?
For not paying their rent or paying their rent, or just liability in general?
I think just liability in general. That's how I'm reading it.
I mean, we're a litigious society. We're constantly running away from our shadows. And so, insurance is key. I am not an insurance agent, but obviously having the appropriate amount of insurance and understanding liability. But if you're a business owner, and if you all of a sudden somebody comes in and makes a different claim than they normally have, which is, if that's what the question is, am I concerned? Absolutely. I think concerns are heightened out there, and that would be a good one for you to check with the chamber membership to say, are you taking any type of additional precautions moving forward in a new reopening as to what your insurance looks like? Or talk to those insurance companies, and I'm sure they got carve outs. Sorry for all the insurance people on the call, but they've got a carve out for everything. So I'm not sure if it really matters one way or the other. But that said, we're going to be concerned. There is a new normal. And I think that people need to get the necessary advice from their insurance agent.
Yeah, and I can speak to a little bit of that. I mean, as a chamber, we produce 2 large events for Bellingham, and part of not necessarily that litigious aspect, but as much the responsibility. We didn't want a transfer to happen at, let's say, the 4th of July event or the Junior Ski to Sea parade, right? So a lot of that, I don't know if I view it as a liability component, but definitely from a PR perspective as well as a general awareness. And so it was one of the many elements that led to some of our decisions that we've had to make as an organization. We're getting pretty close to 11:30, so I want to honor everybody's time. We've got one final question. This is for Lena. I know the answer because when we were chatting the other day, you answered this. Is there a lot of refinancing going on? You're still on mute. There you
Yes, and yes. I was telling Guy, my team, we had 4 purchases and 18 refinances for April, for just my team that I'm on. And so that's a lot. That's a lot of refinances. It's a lot of our, we'll take the purchases all day, but the refinances are crazy because the rates are so good. But again, it's just like you have to be employed. It's got to be the right situation. But it is so busy with refinances because of the rates being so low.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we are to the end. I'm not seeing any additional questions. And as I mentioned, I want to honor everybody's time. Virtual round of applause, high fives, thumbs up for our three presenters, speakers. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. We are a chamber and we do promote business. And I don't believe, I don't think we had proper introductions from everyone. So we're going to go in the same order. Mary Kay, where are you at? How do people get in touch with you? Kind of a 60-second elevator speech, if you will. 60
Got
seconds
it.
or less. And then we'll go Mary Kay, Troy, and then Lena.
Got it. Mary Kay Robinson. I'm with Windermere Real Estate, and I'm a realtor there. Real estate is still happening. Realtors are still in the business of buying and selling homes. If people want to get in touch with me, they can call my cell phone direct 360-303-1911. I am working from home, and I do carry disinfectant with me and a mask and gloves and all that, so it can be done safely.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Troy?
Troy Moliot, Moliot Group and Moliot Commercial, and then also Landmark Real Estate. I'll just type my name, my address, and my phone number into the chat, but it's just my name, troy@moliot.com. And thanks for having me, everyone. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy. Lena?
Lena Kirschman, Caliber Home Loans. I too am working from home. 360-510-2593 is my cell phone. That's the best way to get a hold of me right now. And then we have a little Seahawk mask there.
You would be sporting a Hawks gear.
Go Hawks. And but no, we're business as usual. Everybody's set up remotely, and we'd love to work with you. If you want to refinance, give me a shout. Or buy a house, work with Mary Kay and I together.
We're a good team.
We are a good team.
Yeah. Lena, Troy, Mary Kay, thank you so very much for joining the call. I'm going to stop the recording.